Number 39 is a good example of how dumb summaries can get us pretty far in a question. And while they may not be perfect, they might not give us 100% confidence in our answer, they can give us enough that we can at least move on with the question temporarily and keep going through the section and always come back and look for more proof later. So with a question like this especially, that's about two passages that are difficult to read, we really benefit from simplifying things. And luckily, the blurbs at the beginning of the passage do that for us, and for the double passage especially. So what do we need to do? We need to talk about which choice best identifies a distinction in how Douglas and Sumner, the authors of the two passages, characterize the Kansas-Nebraska bill, the topic of the two passages. So hopefully we get something from this rather long blurb. So let's take a look at it. Passage 1 is adapted from a speech delivered in 1854 by Stephen Douglas, defense of the Kansas-Nebraska bill. Well, that's pretty obviously, the person's in favor of it. In 1854, Douglas, a senator from Illinois, proposed a bill allowing voters in the new territories of Kansas and Nebraska to decide whether slavery should be permitted there. When enacted, the bill would effectively repeal the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which prohibited slavery in these territories. Passage 2 is adapted from a speech delivered in 1856 by Charles Sumner, the crime against Kansas. So he's against it. And look, we've already done plenty of other questions about these two passages. We should know that this summary from the blurb is pretty much reflected in the lines at this point. Even if we don't know the details, the nuances of what these men are arguing, we understand that passage 1 is in favor of the bill and passage 2 is against the bill. Positives, negatives. So with just that dumb summary, let's go to the choices and see what sense we can make of them. So choice A, Douglas characterizes the bill as straightforward, that's pretty positive, in its intent, while Sumner characterizes it as fundamentally deceptive. That's pretty negative. So that matches with what it's saying. So I would at least consider that choice. Choice B, Douglas sees it as safeguarding the interests of the slaveholding territories. Okay, yes, he's very much, at least permissive of slavery, while Sumner sees it as unfairly burdening those territories. Well, that sounds negative, but it's negative in like a bad way, right? So Sumner is not pro-slavery. So he doesn't think of the bill as hurting the slave territories, burdening them. He thinks it's helping them. He thinks it's helping slavery, and that's the thing that's bad. So while this is positive and negative, it still doesn't match with our dumb summary. So we should get rid of this choice. If you wanted to keep it around a little bit longer just because it's still positive negative, I get that, but we would have to face this kind of problem at the end eventually. So I'm just going to cross it out for now. C, Douglas characterized it as a progressive in its treatment of the issue of slavery, while Sumner characterizes it as upholding the status quo. Well, that last piece is really not positive or negative. But if we go back to that blurb for a second, remember, the point of the bill is it's supposed to repeal something from 30 years earlier. So upholding the status quo, no, that's why Sumner is against it, is it's changing something that's been around for a long time. So this is not going to match either. D, Douglas regards it as deeply relevant to key national concerns. Yeah, probably, that seems positive. While Sumner regards it as largely irrelevant to those concerns. Well, no, he doesn't think the bill is irrelevant. He's really pissed off about this bill. He's really against it. So just dismissing it as irrelevant, that's not positive or negative. That's more of like a neutral kind of thing. And I just, historically, we don't really get that kind of thing that kind of tone in the passages, the double passages, right? These people are going to be arguing about something or agreeing on something. You're never going to read a passage that's just like, yeah, this issue doesn't matter. That just doesn't happen, and it certainly doesn't happen here. So just from this very quick version of the passages, we're kind of stuck picking A. Now, there are some strong words here. I mean, straightforward, that's not that strong, but deceptive certainly is, right? I would love evidence that that he thinks of it as a deceptive bill. And look, it doesn't take long to find it. Look at the first sentence of passage 2. The Nebraska bill was, in every respect, a swindle, right? It was a swindle by the South of the North. So what is a swindle? He says it again right here. And again, right here, he keeps saying the word swindle. Deceptive. Yeah, a deception is when you swindle someone, you kind of trick them. So if you're being deceptive, you're kind of lying to them, you're manipulating them. So this isn't just one word tucked away in some line. This is repeated again and again and again. So this is easy to find, including if we've done the other questions. As far as straightforward, we do have some evidence of that. That's a little bit more hidden. He kind of does say positive things about the bill throughout and kind of talks about it as if like, okay, the founders clearly meant this. But here's where he actually says it in particular about the bill. This is all the bill provides, and it does so in a clear, explicit, and unequivocal terms. So I do not wish to deal in any equivocal language. So he's saying it's straightforward there. If it's equivocal, it's going back and forth. If it's unequivocal, it's clear. It's not vague. It's straightforward. So both of those pieces are explicitly stated in both passages. And it would be great if we could find those lines in a couple of seconds and prove that choice A is correct. But with the reading section, especially if we're having trouble finishing the reading section, very often what we need to do is settle for less than 100% confidence on a choice. Now, that's not that bad, because 80% confidence is pretty good. We're still going to get the vast majority of those 80% questions right. And I think just from the blurb and our dumb summaries, we should be 80% confident in choice A. And that's good enough. Pick it, move on, and then come back to it with extra time and try to find and prove that extra 20%. But it's not necessary, and you really have to get in the habit of being okay with less than 100% confidence if you're having trouble finishing these sections.